Hi everyone, this is Freddie with Superbike Unlimited, and we're going to bring you another update on the Ducati V4R Superbike project. This one's going to be cool because we've got a bunch of new parts, and I think actually all of them are made in Italy, which is kind of a fun coincidence since it's some time back. Well, not all of them, because we do have an update for our ET part, but most of the stuff that we're going to be going over today is Italian parts. So first, something that we've got going on is we've gotten our race seats, actual racing seat in. So this is... We actually bought a few different versions of this, and we're going to be stocking and selling these. But the main idea here is that it's just really grippy compared to the Ducati performance seat that we have. It's a plus 20 millimeter height, so it's pretty tall, and it has a carbon fiber base, so it's going to be a bit lighter. We'll actually weigh these and compare, but something else that's really cool, you can kind of see just by comparing the profiles here, is this area on the new seat gives a lot more grip when hanging off. So first we'll just kind of see how much these things weigh compared to each other. You can definitely feel that the race seats version is a little bit less. So we'll zero this and compare these guys. Okay, so that's 1 pound and 10 ounces. Let's see what this is. It's definitely lighter, not crazy, but you can definitely feel a difference there. So if I can balance the thing here, 1 pound and 5 ounces. So 5 ounce difference. That's pretty good, especially considering that we're going to have a bit more surface area. So we'll show you kind of how that looks when it's in place. Gives you a bit of an idea. We don't have the bracket installed right now because we're still doing some work on the bike, but this is the area that we're getting the improved grip on, and it just looks a lot nicer, so we're excited to get that put on. Something else that we've gotten is our new Gandini Sprockets. So we've got a couple of things. For one, of course we're running our super light quick change kit, which we absolutely love. It's an awesome part. However, we have noticed that sometimes super light runs out of sprockets, and obviously you got to have those, especially us. We're going through them pretty quickly if we're racing the bike and doing a lot of laps. So we asked Gandini if they could potentially make something for us, and they've come through. So we've got that here. This is going to be a 43 from them, and we really like these because these guys, they have a tremendous amount of experience. They make sprockets and transmission gears actually for a lot of programs. They make transmissions for Moto2. They make sprockets for World Superbike, Moto2, MotoGP, lots of national series. So they're really good at that stuff. And we've just found that they hold up really well. So they seem to be a little more durable than some of the other aluminum sprockets we've used. So excited about that. We also got them to send us some of their front sprockets, and I've got to say these things are pretty amazing. These are actually micro finished, or super finished rather, the same way transmission gears are, much like the stuff that we run on our super bikes. And they are made out of some kind of special steel alloy. I can't recall the actual name, but basically these are going to be a lot more durable and have a lot less friction than we would see out of a normal sprocket. They cost a bit more, so it's going to be interesting to see how they compare, but I'm just really impressed with that. I don't know if you can see that, but it's got like a mirror finish on it. Super nice sprocket. So we're going to be putting that on. And then also something else I wanted to just touch on is we've had a lot of people ask us about running Alliant batteries, and up until recently we haven't had an Alliant that would fit in the V4 if you have a stock bike. And we've now got this YLP09B, and I'm happy to confirm that we've tested it and it fits like a glove in the V4. So you can see this is literally like a perfect fit. You really couldn't get much better than that. So we've got those available now. They're not that much money. It's only about £1.25 pounds, I think. And it's going to be under 150 bucks. So a lot cheaper than the factory V4 battery if you're looking for something that's going to be lightweight and fit perfectly. And then finally on the parts, we do have our production version of the bracket that we had made that relocates the speed sensor and allows you to run a different swing arm eccentric position. And that's going to be this guy right here. And wanted to mention this because we do have these on the site now, and we've had some people ask. This has been modified, so it doesn't have the clearance issues that the other one, the prototypes that we had. And of course, the finish on this is actually going to be now clear anodized, so it's still silver, but it doesn't have the corrosion issues that you would have with the prototypes that we were using before. So it's really nice looking piece. If you want one of those, we do have them in stock, and we're selling them now. Lastly, onto the V4. We've been doing some work. We've some stuff that we really wanted to do is we wanted to get our fuel pressure sensor incorporated, and we also wanted to find an easy way to quickly disconnect the fuel tank. So when we have to take it on and off or lift it up or whatever, it's kind of a pain with the stock setup. So here's what we've got going on. We were going to use a Staubli setup, which is, you know, a dry brake like we're going to be running on the front brake line. We've decided to not do that yet, just due to availability. And we've actually had some really good feedback on these fittings, and they're very inexpensive as well. So essentially what we've done here is we are using just our high pressure rubber fuel injection hose, which is good stuff. It doesn't kink up, and it's not very expensive at all. And we have these sort of quick release fittings, and each one of these has a check valve in it. So it's not really a dry brake because there's going to be fuel in between each valve. So every time you open this up by pressing this release, there's going to be a small amount of fuel that comes out, and that's why we have this rag here, so I can demonstrate that. So here's how it works. You just press this here and it comes out, and then you're going to have just a touch of fuel, just like that every time. So, you know, it's not a crazy amount, but it's definitely not the same thing as a Staubli dry brake. And then once you reconnect it, it's that simple. So anyway, from there, we've run this piece of that fuel injection hose. Of course, we've got everything clamped down nice, and we use some tubing to cover everything up. This is our fuel pressure sensor, and then we've run that off to a basically a 90-degree elbow, just so we can clear our ECU and everything. Then it runs back up into the stock fitting where it interfaces with the upper and lower injectors. So we still got some work to do. You can see some wiring here. We haven't finished mating that up to our harness, but that's where we are now. And I'm pretty happy with that. We actually experimented with a few different ways to install that fuel pressure sensor. There's not a lot of room there, so we had looked at running it behind the airbox and some other potential configurations. This is the way that was the shortest and maybe not the easiest, but in my opinion made the most sense. And also, once the fairing's installed, you don't see any of this, so it's going to be pretty tidy looking. So that's all we've got for now. We're going to have a few other small updates, and we're going to continue wrapping up this fuel pressure install next. But we wanted to show you what we've got coming, and then of course we're going to install our brand new sprockets. So that's coming up in a bit. Okay, so we've got the bike back up on one of our work tables, and so what we're going to do now is prepare to set the correct length for this, and then of course cut it and terminate it, and then apply some of our DR25 heat shrink tubing. So what you see here is we've just twisted it up a bit, and Tex right now is just going to go grab some of our tools to properly terminate this and wrap that up, and then we'll properly calibrate the sensor and our M1 Tune software and make sure everything looks right, and should be all set. Okay, so we've got our length set, and we're gonna prepare to strip and terminate these. And so what we're gonna basically do is we're gonna run this behind the frame, of course, and sort of along this way behind the frame so that it can join these other wires that we have here and keep everything together nice and tidy. And of course, this is where we're going to end up right here. All right, well, Tex has gotten excited here and is ripping through the sprocket install before I could run back in here with the camera. So we're wrapping that up, but it is cool because it's shocking the difference looking at what this front sprocket especially looks like. I know I probably sound corny because I'm just obsessed at the fact that it's shiny, but it just looks super cool. You don't see these in here. I mean, we've seen some chrome plated ones and things like that, but it's just pretty unique looking. So it's kind of nice to walk up and see that. And then the rear, this is actually the first time we've test fitted one of these super light sprockets on the actual carrier, and as expected, it looks really proper.
Gandini.
Oh, well, it's a super light carrier.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Tex was like, didn't you mean Gandini? Yeah, this is cool because it is kind of a, up until now, you could only get the super light sprocket for this carrier. That looks awesome. It's kind of a different pattern compared to the old one. They had kind of more of a rounded look on the super light. You can see the difference here. That's our before and after. And it just makes sense to have Italian sprockets on an Italian motorcycle, so I think I'm good with that. All right, so we've got this ready to go on. We're gonna be, essentially what we've done is we've put our DR25 heat shrink tubing on top of this wire. And of course you saw how we kind of twisted it up a bit in there and taped it to allow it to hold that twist. And then we're just gonna terminate this. And at that point, we're gonna be ready to go. All right, so you can see that we've got this, and now we're just gonna finish shrinking this down, and we'll be all set with fuel pressure. Put the GoPro right over that.
Yeah.
How's that look? I'm pretty tidy.
Sweet. And 4-to-1 stuff is nice.
Yeah. Now we just got to route it?
Yep. Now the fun part. You know what? I may pull the ECU out of there just to give myself some room.
Makes sense. And something else, we are about to finally receive our updated cradle that's going to have a new provision for mounting the ECU and stuff. We're still using this other one, which will accept that new battery that we showed you. Prior to us getting those new batteries in, we really wanted to use one that was slightly larger called a YLP10. And so the new cradle is going to be engineered around the YLP10, and it'll allow us to have a little bit more tidy mounting for all of these connectors and stuff that you see that are kind of more or less just stuffed in there, which is fine, but what we're going to have is going to be a lot nicer once this is all done. Okay, so we've gotten this all tidied up, and I think we're ready to start reassembling everything. So you can see this guy right here is going to be our fuel pressure, and we've run it behind the frame and behind this breather, and of course zip tied it to the rest of our loom. And I'm really happy with how this looks. I think everything's pretty tidy. And I know to some of you this might look a bit like a rat's nest because we've got kind of wires everywhere, but we have a lot of sensors and a whole lot of loom in a very limited amount of space. So I'm pretty pleased with how this looks. So next step's going to be getting the fuel tank back on, putting this all back together, and we'll fire up the dash and see what our fuel pressure looks like on the live reading. Okay, so Tex is finished wrapping this up. Everything's working great. We have done a calibration with our M1 tune and C125 to properly set up the range for the sensor and basically what an output voltage equals in terms of bar value. And typically I actually use kPa on the dash in an M1, so we'll just go ahead and turn this on and show you what it looks like. Okay, so you can see fuel pressure there is bottom left, and that's our value in kPa. And then if we turn the fuel pump on, it'll jump right up to, 300 or so. So get a brief little surge as the fuel pump comes on. So we can confirm that is working properly. And then of course, just for kicks, we'll show you guys the home screen. This is the layout that we have now, which is nice and simple, and I'm a big fan of. So that's going to do it for that. We'll give you a, let's get the laptop unplugged, and we'll do a quick walk around as we wrap this video up. Oh, thank you, Tex. And yeah, this is, we've got the seat installed. It's a little dirty, so sorry for that. We'll give her a good wipe down and get some photos, but you can see it's a lot more racy looking, and I really like the feel of this thing. It's just, I think it's going to work a lot better than that original seat, and especially with this added grip here, it ought to make it a little easier to engage the core and hang off this thing. So this is how we're looking right now. I'm really happy with this. Motorcycle is looking badass, and as you can see, with the fairing install, this is all we have over here. I may try to find a way to kind of further pull that in just to get it that last little 3/4 of an inch, you know, pull it in a little bit, but it's not something I think is going to interfere with anything. And it's certainly going to make the serviceability and access to this motorcycle much improved. So cool. Well, I think that's going to do it for this one. We've got some more updates coming soon. We are going to be testing out a different throttle option. We actually have more than one coming in. We're going to be doing that. And we're also going to be focusing a lot of attention on our other superbike project that we're working on right now, which is a 2021 Kawasaki ZX-10RR. Really big update for that one coming soon. So if you're into Japanese bikes, be sure to check that out on our channel. And once again, thank you for watching. Be sure to like this video, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.